Before Rome crowned Christianity, before Europe raised its cathedrals, before missionaries crossed oceans and empires carried crosses on their flags, there was a kingdom rising in the African highlands. Beyond Egypt. Beyond the Nile. In the mountains of what we now call Ethiopia. A land of trade and gold. Of royal courts and towering stone pillars. A civilization connected to Arabia, to the Mediterranean, to the wider ancient world. This was Aksum, organized, powerful, respected. And long before history would give Africa a secondary role in the Christian story, destiny was already moving across its hills. In Jerusalem, not long after the resurrection of Jesus, a remarkable visitor had come to worship. He was not Roman. He was not Greek. He was African. A high-ranking official. Treasurer to the Queen of Ethiopia. A man trusted with a nation's wealth. The book of Acts introduces him simply as the Ethiopian Eunuch. But behind that title was a thinker. A reader. A seeker. He had traveled hundreds of miles to Jerusalem in search of God. That detail alone speaks volumes. Africa was not spiritually asleep. Africa was searching. Now his chariot rolled along a desert road from Jerusalem toward Gaza. The sun hung high over the dust and stone. And in his hands was something rare and precious, a scroll of the prophet Isaiah. Handwritten. Costly. Sacred. He read aloud as the wheels turned over sand. He was led like a sheep to the slaughter. The words drifted into the dry desert air. They were ancient words, heavy with prophecy. But he did not fully understand them. At that very moment, a disciple of Jesus named Philip was prompted by the Spirit to go to that same desert road. No explanation. No map. Just obedience. Philip saw the chariot. He heard the African official reading Isaiah. And he asked a simple question that would change history.
This changes everything.
Do you understand what you are reading? The Ethiopian looked at him and replied with humility that still echoes through time. How can I, unless someone explains it to me? In that exchange, continents quietly intersected. Philip climbed into the chariot. The desert wind brushed against the canopy as he began to explain the prophecy, not as distant poetry, but as fulfilled promise. He spoke of Jesus, of suffering, of crucifixion, of resurrection, of hope stronger than death. The gospel was moving. Not first toward Rome. Not first toward Europe. But toward Africa. As they traveled, something unexpected appeared in the wilderness, water. A pool in the desert. And the Ethiopian said, "Look, here is water. What prevents me from being baptized?" The story did not disappear. It rooted itself in African soil. And the Ethiopian eunuch was not the only African presence in Scripture. Egypt sheltered the child Jesus. Cush is mentioned in prophecy. An African man, Simon of Cyrene, carried the cross of Christ. From the Nile to Jerusalem, from desert roads to Roman courts, Africa was present in the biblical world. Not distant. Not silent. Present. When history is retold, Africa is sometimes placed at the margins of Christianity's expansion. But the desert road tells a different story. Before cathedrals rose in Europe, before councils shaped empires, before colonial ships crossed seas, an African official read Isaiah. An African believer was baptized. An African kingdom would one day raise the cross as its symbol of faith. Christianity did not arrive in Africa as a stranger. It returned as a seed already planted. Imagine that moment once more. The chariot stopping. Water shimmering in the desert light. A question spoken with urgency and hope, what prevents me? Nothing prevented him then. And nothing prevents the truth from crossing borders now. The Ethiopian eunuch was more than a traveler. He was a bridge, between Jerusalem and Africa, between prophecy and fulfillment, between scripture and a continent whose faith would endure for centuries. And somewhere, in the vast silence of that ancient desert road, the echo still remains.